We had a dead goat in the freezer, but I'm not going to show you how I make 1 or 2. I would never do that. Let me show you how I make 1 or 2 months worth. That might have been way too much. I may have not followed the recipe properly there. It's probably my most disgusting meal. I bought 5 kilos of rice, 7.5 kilos of sweet potato, 7.5 kilos of broccoli, 35 tins of black beans. Welcome to the Greek God Project, where I take you on the journey through me getting jacked, getting strong, and getting healthy. In today's episode, I'm going to take you through a full day of eating and reveal one of my best recipes to date. Enjoy. Good morning. The weather is cracking today. I'm happy about this. We're smashing down some breakfast here. So I have Greek yogurt, fat-free Greek yogurt for some protein, for some calcium. I have 2 cups of oats here. I put it in overnight, just in some water. I have some cinnamon, just tastes kind of good. And I have some berries, some mixed berries, get a bit of vitamin C in, antioxidants, stuff like that. So this is the breakfast. I'm gonna smash this down, sit outside, get the morning rays in the eyes, set the circadian rhythm. That's what we're doing first thing in the morning. In terms of eating my calories, when I was trying to get lean, when I was trying to lose a bunch of body fat, what I would do is I would eat as little as possible for the first maybe half of the day, basically to front load the effort so that in the afternoon I could eat more food and it would be a bit easier to eat less calories. Now that I'm not trying to be in big calorie deficits, I prefer to eat the majority of my calories earlier in the day. I find this just gives me more energy throughout the day. I'm not thinking about food as much, and then in the afternoon I don't really have to eat as much. I also try and get my workouts in early in the day, between meal 1 and meal 2. The reason for that is I'm working out outside. I want to work out when the UV is between 3 to 5, so I'm probably making my skin a bit darker, a bit more tan, but I'm not getting burnt. So it works out pretty well that way. I try and get the majority of my calories in the first 2 to 3 meals, filling most of my calories from carbohydrates. Today is going to be a lower calorie day than usual because I'm not lifting. But on the days I am lifting, I'm going to add even more carbohydrates in, and I add and I fill the majority of my calories specifically around the workouts, before the workout and after the workout, in the form of carbohydrates, just to improve my workout performance and improve my glycogen recovery. All right, only supplement I'm taking of the day ever right now is creatine. Oh, all right, creatine is the only supplement I'm taking, 15 milligrams a day. That's it. Not much to explain here. Creatine is going to help bring more water into the muscle cells, give you a more full muscle look. It's going to improve recovery, improve energy throughout your workouts. It's a pretty good thing to supplement, but other than that, I ain't taking any more supplements because I actually eat proper food that has real nutrients in it. So I don't need any more damn supplements. So that's it for the supplements, but we do take some creatine. All right, meal number 2, post-run, we have like a red meat rice concoction. It's pretty similar to what I ate last month. It's basically some sort of red meat on the top, and then it's a rice mix with rice, beans, broccoli. The change I made here is last month I used carrot to get in my vitamin A. I've replaced that with sweet potato. It's a little bit easier to meal prep everything together. It also just tastes a little bit better. So that's the changes. In terms of the meats, this is not beef, this is actually goat. I feel like last month was silver side, this month is goat. Kind of weird meat choices here, but I only chose a goat because we had a dead goat in the freezer. So it was what was available. I'm getting in a ridiculous amount of micronutrients in this meal, getting my protein in, getting a bit of carbs in. It's got everything I need. It's honestly pretty insane. Now, the big change I made is adding in iodized salt. Now, you might think that's not a big change at all, but it kind of is, because previously what I was doing to get my iodine in is I was drinking pure unsweetened cranberry juice. Oh, that is vile. Tastes like garbage. Also pretty expensive, but I figured out I could just use iodized salt and gets my iodine in. I'm eating salt anyway. It's gonna be as good as any of the other fancy salts. There's not much of a difference really. Some trace minerals, who cares? But if I'm actually getting in a micronutrient that's gonna be beneficial for my thyroid function, then that's pretty helpful. So those are the two changes I've made to the, I guess you call this the meat and rice meal, on top of the fact that I've actually reduced the amount of total meat and rice meals I was having. So previously I was doing three of these a day. I've switched to two. I just find it's easier to do two. It's more flexible, less meal prep, less time in the kitchen heating stuff up, eating, cleaning, all that stuff. So that's what I'm eating for meal number 2. Looks pretty good. I'm pretty hungry, so I'm looking forward to this bad boy. I'm gonna get this down and then I'll see you for whatever we're eating next. Just to give you guys an idea of how much I love this rice concoction. Look at this. This is my freezer. I believe I made 60 days worth of this rice last Tuesday. I was like, this stuff is way too good. There is not a chance on earth that I'm eating anything other than this. Let me just make a crazy amount. So I went into Woolies, which is a shopping center here in Australia, and I bought 5 kilos of rice, 7.5 kilos of sweet potato, 7.5 kilos of broccoli, 35 tins of black beans, like 300 grams of chili flakes, which is a lot for chili flakes, and I went to town. And as you can see, we made a crazy amount. We made an absolutely ridiculous amount of rice. This rice is crazy. By the way, that ice cream is not mine. Don't judge me. Why do I love this rice so much? This is why. In terms of the micronutrients, you're looking at 100% daily intake of folate, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin K, iron, although it's probably not the best source of iron, manganese, copper, and 80% of your daily intake of fiber. These are all micronutrients that are very hard to get, and a lot of you are probably deficient in. It's 650 calories. It is 28 grams of protein, which usually I wouldn't consider protein if you're getting it from rice or if you're getting it from beans, but the fact that they're both combined, they actually create a complete protein source, so it is genuine protein. It has 100 grams of carbs, which is, good if you're working out, and only 2.5 grams of fat. So this stuff is pretty ridiculous. This is something that's going to be here forever, because it basically means that I can use this as my base and put meat on top of it, and I can just get in nearly all of my daily micronutrients. All I would have to really throw in is some yogurt or some sort of dairy for some calcium. You get some proper red meat in there for some iron and for some zinc and all that stuff. You're good. You're set. After that, you can just eat whatever you want. So this stuff's been a game changer. If it's this good, and if I'm gonna be eating it every day, then I may as well make a ridiculous amount of it. I don't wanna be making this stuff every week. If I can make 8 weeks worth of it in one day, I'm gonna do that. So that's how much I love this rice. It's here to stay. It is the GOAT. Also, I'm throwing in a cocoa drink. This is usually after I have my walk. I just find it's a nice thing to have. It's just something slightly sweet to have after my main meals. It's also very good for the micronutrients. So over the course of the day, I'm probably having about half a liter of almond milk, only 75 calories, but gets my full daily intake of vitamin E and a surprising amount of calcium. The cacao powder actually very good at getting magnesium in. Obviously tastes like chocolate as well, especially when you add a bit of stevia. So I'll get 2 cups of this in. It's gonna be maybe 100 calories for both of them combined. So pretty good thing to have. Thought it was a phase, but I guess it's still here. I know this is a full day of eating, not a full day of cooking. However, this is what we're chefing up right now. Some goat. I had some dead goat in the freezer, so this is what we're eating. I just wanted to kind of show you guys how I go about my food. I'm not cooking more than once a week, and when I am cooking, it's really low admin. I'm putting something in an oven and then putting it in plastic containers. That's basically it. So this is gonna cover me for probably 2 weeks. That's a lot of meat in there. I'm not sure how much of that is bone, but that's gonna last us for at least the next week. Then I don't have to worry about meat. I don't have to worry about cooking any of that stuff. I just get it out the way. It's probably about 15 minutes of work. I'm not here trying to make the tastiest, fanciest, nicest looking meal. I'm trying to make something that gets the micronutrients in, that tastes decent. It can't taste terrible, but it has to be really convenient. I have to just be able to pull it out, put it in a microwave, eat it, boom, be done with it. So This is what my meal prep looks like. It's literally chucking something in the oven and pulling it out, probably slightly overcooked. Meal number 3. Same as meal number 2. No difference here. It is the greatest rice ever created, micronutrient bomb with the goat. It's basically it. I'll add a bit of iodized salt to this, get this down, get on with my day. Rice comes from the meal prep container, so does the goat. Boom, combine them together in the microwave. On my plate, in my mouth, out the door, I'm done. It's pretty easy, pretty simple. Insane amount of micronutrients. The macros are what I want them to be. So this is meal number 3. One of you guys asked me how to make these amazing protein bars that I had in the last video. So I thought, let me show you how I make it. But I'm not gonna show you how I make 1 or 2. I would never do that. Let me show you how I make 1 or 2 months worth. So this is how I make 2 months worth of protein bars. I don't know how long this is gonna take me, but probably not that long. Right, first things first, I've got a bit of gelatin powder here. I'm trying to bloom this stuff just so it has a bit of a chewier texture. So I basically chuck in, gonna be total 80 grams of gelatin powder with, what is that, 400 grams of water. It's about a 5-to-1 ratio. So basically just put it in bowls and then put the water on top of it and then just let it sit and it just eventually turns to jelly. I'll show you what that looks like. Oh, that is way too much. As you can see, the gelatin powder has formed some sort of, well, pretty disgusting gelatiny substance. Right, now we're adding the dry bowl. This is a fresh bowl. We're gonna add the dry ingredients. So protein powder, cacao powder, if you want it for the chocolatey flavor, and stevia. Because I'm doing these in 4s, I'm probably gonna do a quarter of the choc honeycomb with cacao powder, quarter without, and then a quarter of the vanilla maple with cacao powder, a quarter without. So it's gonna be some more chocolatey, some less chocolatey. We just get to try a bit of variety here. So it is 16 scoops of protein powder. It is 8 tablespoons of cacao powder and 8 teaspoons of stevia. So let's put this all together. All right, next up, we'll put in the wet ingredients together. So I've got fat-free Greek yogurt. I've got some sugar-free maple syrup. So I'm doing these in 4s. That's why I did it in 4 bowls. So 1.4 kilos of fat-free Greek yogurt and half a cup of the sugar-free maple syrup. That'll do you a quarter of what I'm currently making. So I'm gonna chuck this in the bowl. Here's where the fun begins. We're doing like 4 things at once right now. So I'm gonna add boiling water to the gelatin. We're then gonna mix it into the wet mix, add the dry mix, and mix it all up. This is the only thing that requires you to have 3 brain cells in this entire process. So let me put all my brain cells to use and get this bad boy done. All right, here we go. 120 mils of boiling water into the gelatin. That might have been way too much. I may have not followed the recipe properly there. Anyway, kind of mix it up a bit. Maybe use a spoon for this one. Mixy, mixy, get that gelatiny substance going. This just melts it up so you can mix it into everything. Obviously, if you're using that, it's not gonna mix with anything. It's just a clump of garbage. We mix this up, it's now pretty much dissolved. Quite liquidy, I don't know how well you can see that, but it's ready to go. Let's add it to the wet mix. Boom, in we go. Quick stir of the wet mix. Get a pretty good forearm pump from doing all this mixing, by the way. And then let's add the dry. That is dense. That is seriously dense. So you just sit here and just stir it until it looks like a reasonable consistency to eat. I will say the choc honeycomb is smelling good. I haven't tried this flavor yet. Not in this variety, because this is not a regular protein isolate. This is a whey casein blend. They just work slightly better for protein bars. They just got a bit more volume to them. I basically finished it now. Took me no time at all. This is half a month's worth. This is 16 days worth of protein bars. It's looking just about done right now. This is the aesthetic we're going for here. Nice and delicious. I don't know how you would describe this texture. Admin done, basically. All we do now is just chuck this into some sort of baking tray, put a bit of baking paper on it so it doesn't stick. Just chuck it in. I'm pretty loose with it. And that's it. I'm just gonna do this 4 more times, freeze it, take it out and cut it. So not a whole lot of admin. Considering this tastes basically like a chocolate bar, but has 35 grams of protein and less than 200 calories. I mean, talk about an 80-20 right there. That is pretty nuts in my opinion. So I'm gonna do this 4 more times. I think you get the picture. In terms of trying to do this and not making 2 months worth, just divide it, do a bit of maths. I won't be a dick. This is the recipe. This is how you make it. If you wanna make it for yourself at home, this is 8 servings. So you will have to do a bit of maths if you wanna make more than 8 servings, but this is the recipe that I followed, although I'm not sure how accurately I really did follow it, but that's the rough guidelines. There's no rules in the kitchen. Boom, this is what it looks like. Pretty simple. Put this in the freezer, let's go. This is Cormac 24 hours in the future, and they're ready. All right, I'm gonna chop these up into 16 pieces each, and then put them in some containers for later use. This is what it looks like. Pretty dense, pretty large, pretty thick. This is quite filling, 200 calories, 35 Gs of protein. So I now have 2 months supply of that, bunch of different flavors as well. So very happy with that. That was super easy. As you can see, that's a whole lot of food that I now don't have to worry about for the next 2 months, which is pretty cool to think about. I basically won't have to cook except for a bit of meat. Happy days. And as I'm chefing up this beautiful protein bar, my goat is ready. I'm not gonna touch that with my fingers, that would be idiotic. Le goat is ready. I probably overcooked it brutally, but after I finish the protein bars, I'm probably gonna butcher this up. It is time to butcher this goat. I'm gonna cut this up into tiny little pieces, and then I'm gonna put it in these glass containers. That's all I do. I don't weigh it out into portions. I just put it all together, and then when I'm gonna eat it, I weigh it out, put it together, put it in the microwave, and boom, I'm done. So, well, how long would this have taken? Maybe 20 minutes tops for 2 weeks worth of meat. I've already got my rice for the next 60 days. We just made protein bars for the next 60 days. So I'm good with cooking for another 2 weeks probably. All right, we got a little snack here. I guess you call it a snack. I guess you call it a meal. I'm gonna call this meal number 4. What we got here is a tin of sardines. I put a bit of sriracha on here just to make it bearable. A bit of salt as well, iodized salt, just to be nice. Couple of boiled eggs. These are pickled. I'll talk about that later. And I have about 10 almonds. It's all here. Have about 10 almonds. Now, this gets me 30 grams, a bit more than 30 grams of complete protein source, so stimulating muscle protein synthesis. The sardines is getting me omega-3s, which is great. The eggs, it's adding a bit of choline, some fat, and the almonds are adding in a bit of healthy fat, because generally my fat is pretty low. I'm not eating a whole lot of fat. I want to eat enough fat so that my hormone levels are good, they're nice and stable, but at the end of the day, 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. A gram of carbohydrates is 4, a gram of protein is 4. So I'm not going to overeat the fat. I'm going to try and keep my fat sufficient to not negatively impact my hormones, but I'm not overdoing on the fat. So this is what my snack meal number 4 looks like. It's probably my most disgusting meal. It's my least tasty, but again, just ticks a lot of micronutrient boxes, gets the protein in, and it's probably pretty low calories. Now, this has been another new addition, and that is the pickled eggs. Now, I can't say I love these. Probably not the best thing that I've made. I can probably improve the recipe slightly. The thing with the eggs is I was making eggs, but they only last so long in the fridge. So I would basically be hard boiling 12 at a time. It would last me 6 days. And then you have to peel them, and it was a little bit of admin. Not the most admin, but the point was you were cooking every week, which I didn't like. The thing with the hard boiled and pickled eggs is that you can just cook. I think I cooked 40 eggs and just put them in. They'll last basically forever. It just means that I can have eggs that I just grab out of the fridge and I can just put in my mouth and eat straight away. The flavor, I don't know if I love the flavor. It's very vinegary, but it's a lot less admin. It's one of those 80-20s where it's like I could be cooking hard-boiled eggs every single week, peeling them every day, or I can just pull it out of the fridge. It tastes slightly vinegary. I can probably improve the recipe so it's not as disgusting. I might add curry powder to the next one, maybe some chili flakes. It's got some garlic in here, but I can probably improve the recipe. But this has been I'm not sure I'd call this an upgrade on flavor in the diet, but I would say it's been an upgrade on admin. All right, final thing before bed. Last thing I eat, another protein bar. This thing is large, it's dense. Just made 2 months worth, so excited about that. This is a Rocky Road chocolate flavor. I really like this one, but we're experimenting with the other ones. However, that is it for the day. This last one, by the way, the reason I eat this before bed is it has 35 grams of protein, so it has enough protein to trigger muscle protein synthesis, and it's only 190 calories, so it's not a lot of calories, so I'm not digesting a bunch of food before bed, but I'm triggering muscle protein synthesis for the last time. So let's break down the day. What happened? What did we do? So first of all, macros, most important thing, 2,800 calories. So usually I am between 2,800 calories. This would be one of my lowest days, and I would go up to about 3,500. I would call this calorie cycling. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm keeping my average calories at maintenance over the course of the week, but I'll eat less on my non-lifting days or my running days, and I'll eat more on my lifting days. This just means that I have more energy, more calories available, so that when I am building muscle, when my body has peaked, it's maxed out on muscle protein synthesis, that's when I'm actually eating more food. That's when I have more calories in the system to build more muscle. That's the way I'm doing it right now, at least. In terms of the protein, 216 grams, so easily getting my gram of protein per pound of body weight. In terms of carbs, 235 grams, so pretty good for a lower calorie day, and then 86 grams of fat, so enough to be keeping my hormone levels pretty damn good. So a few things of note. First of all, I am eating 5 high protein meals a day, between 4 and 5. Today was 5, but I want to eat between 4 and 5 high protein meals a day. The protein, specifically getting over 30 grams of a complete protein source, is going to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. You have 5 opportunities a day to do this. If you're doing it between 4 and 5 times a day, specifically spaced at least 3 hours apart, then you're basically optimizing the amount of protein that your body can use to build muscle. So that's very important to me. In terms of my micronutrients, I'm trying to get that from whole foods. There is no supplements in my diet except for the creatine I'm taking. I get perfect micronutrient intake from bioavailable food sources. This is going to significantly help with recovery, with overall how my body functions. That's kind of it. Now it seems like a lot of things, a lot of moving parts, a lot of components, but I try and make it as simple as possible. So things like the rice help out a huge amount at getting a crazy amount of my micronutrients in. Preparing all my food ahead of time, like I showed you today, so I only have to cook once a month. I only really have to track my food once a month. Just makes it really easy to do things. It's very 80-20. My food might not taste as good as your food, but my food is definitely getting me more jacked and more healthy than your food is. Things like the protein bar, just a great way to get that protein in, quench my thirst, my appetite, my desire for something like chocolate. Obviously, this is what I'm doing. It's probably going to be very different to what you're doing, probably very different to what you want to do,
Depends on what you prioritize. For me, I care the most about the nutrition. What are the macronutrients? What are the micronutrients? How does this help my body perform optimally? After that, I'm looking at how can I make this as convenient as physically possible so I don't have to think about my food, so I don't have to spend time on my food. And lastly, I care about things like taste and presentation. If you have your priorities differently to me, then you're gonna eat differently to me. That makes sense. This is what my day of eating looks like basically every day. If I'm having more calories, if I'm having a high calorie day, I'm generally just adding in more carbohydrates. So I'm probably adding in more rice, I might be adding in more bread, maybe some honey, maybe some more oats, stuff like that. It's just more carbs. That's it for the video. If you enjoyed, then like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is part of a series, the Greek God Project. If you want to follow along with more of the series, then it's probably around here somewhere. You can check my YouTube channel. I'll see you in another video. Thanks for watching.